I remembered a strange story from my childhood. Maybe it's not mystical, but just a series of coincidences. I don't remember much, so initially, I will write the picture that I remembered. At the end there will be small details from other participants of these events. It was the 90s. I was a little pizyuk back then, just starting first grade. One day, a big shaggy dog showed up in our yard. Someone said it was a mix of a South Russian sheepdog and a wolfhound, but it was probably just a big mongrel. Because of its size, everyone was afraid of it and tried to avoid it, but it turned out to be friendly, especially with children. Soon it started hanging out with us, and eventually even the adults got used to it. We kids tried to lure her out of the house with all sorts of treats. The dog got the nickname Jula. She settled in an old forgotten barn. The boards underneath had rotted and fallen away, and she dug a hole to get inside. That's how she got into the closed shed. We used to peek through the cracks and see her sleeping on an old sweatshirt. We were just glad the dog had a place to call her own, so to speak. I want to note that every time we gathered in the yard, Jula appeared right away. Now for the weird stories. Story 1. It was an ordinary winter evening. I wanted to watch cartoons on the VCR, but my parents drove me away from the TV and started watching something else. I went to my room to read. After a while, I got tired of reading and decided to look out the window. In the courtyard, I saw Jula standing in the sandbox. In the middle of the yard, on a snow-covered sandbox, Jula was standing on her hind legs with her back to me. She was staring at the house across from mine. Then, like in a circus act, she started to turn around on her hind legs and stared straight at me. She just turned and stood there, still on her hind legs, looking right at me. It looked pretty ominous in the dark. I got a little scared. Not because the dog was standing on her hind legs. Dogs can do that, and even turn around. I was scared because she realized I was watching her and turned to look at me. I immediately backed away from the window and climbed into bed. It felt like Jula was already under my window, that she'd jump up, break the glass, and torment me. I lived on the first floor back then, but nothing like that happened. The next morning I saw the same friendly, big dog again. Story 2. We went with our company to another yard. Jula was hanging out with us as always. Suddenly a babushka appears in that yard. Well, she lived there, and starts yelling, like, "Why are you carrying evil things around with you? Are you out of your mind?" We ask her what kind of evil. She says your dog over there is evil. If it can even be called a dog now. And by the way, Jula started growling and snarling at her, although before she did not show aggression, even to those people who wanted to chase her away. She just ran away. Then the babushka got distracted, and we got the fuck out of there. Story 3. One evening we went outside and didn't see Jula. We went to look for her, and when we passed by the barn where she lived, we heard a rough male voice saying something incomprehensible. I don't know how to explain it. There were both Russian words and words in an incomprehensible language. I don't remember verbatim, but something like this.
Don't you ashnar? You know what you must do, and do ta.
What I want to add here, the barn was closed as before, and a grown man couldn't fit through the hole where the dog was. I mean, he could if he widened the hole. As we approached the barn, the dog crawled out of the hole. However, for some reason she was angry, grinning and growling at us. We were even frightened, but then she suddenly changed, as if first she forgot us, and then suddenly remembered. She became the same old, kind dog again, wagging her tail. Now, additions from other participants in the events, before I move on to the ending. It was noticed that other animals were afraid of Jula. Even other dogs avoided approaching her, and small dogs would run away squealing. The dog was often seen near funeral processions, both in our yard and in neighboring ones. People thought she came to beg for food. They would throw her all kinds of memorial pies or things like that. But she wouldn't eat them. She just watched the mourning procession. In our absence, she supposedly followed people. She could simply pick someone and walk behind them all the way to their building. Later, many said she'd sit there, staring at the windows, trying to figure out where the person she followed had gone. I can't vouch for this story. It was told by an old man who lived across from me on the first floor, and he did like to embellish things. That building is old and has sunk over time, meaning the windows are low. So, this old man was taken away in an ambulance once. We weren't surprised. He was elderly. But when he came back from the hospital, he said it was our Jula who had scared him. He said that one night he got up to get a drink of water, turned on the light in the kitchen, and saw a human-like silhouette outside the window. He pulled back the curtain, and there was Jula, standing on her hind legs, front paws on the windowsill, baring her teeth and growling. Then she barked loudly, and that's when his heart gave out. Finale, I wasn't in the city at the time, but this is what witnesses said. That old woman who spoke about the undead came into the courtyard. She came with her grandson and some woman. The grandson broke into the shed, and they went inside. The old woman was reciting some prayers and scattering what seemed to be salt around the shed. The woman was painting crosses in the corners of the shed with paint. Jula wasn't in the shed at that moment. After the ritual was finished, they managed to shut the shed somehow and left. Closer to nightfall, a man saw the dog return and crawl into the shed through the hole. Then he heard a wild howl, followed by a commotion. Apparently the dog was tearing around inside the shed in a frenzy, knocking everything over. About 5 minutes later, she burst through the shed door with her body. They must not have secured it properly after the ritual, and darted off. No one ever saw Jula again. What's interesting is that a few years later, when we got older and braver, we asked that old woman what it was she had done. She said our Jula had been a demon, or possessed by one. That demons don't just possess people, but animals too. She also said the dog had been possessed for a long time, which was unusual. Usually the possessed don't live long, especially animals. This meant that the dog and the demon had adapted to each other. And because of that, she was even more dangerous and could have caused a lot of harm. According to the old woman, when she was young she lived beyond the Urals. There, a demon was exorcised from a local woman, and it entered a horse. The horse became possessed, nearly carnivorous. It destroyed everything in the stable and broke free. The old woman said she remembered the horse's huge yellow eyes. She remembered how the men started shooting at it with rifles, but it still got away. That possessed horse went on terrifying the nearby villages for about a year, appearing in the area from time to time. Eventually, it vanished, but people say they still sometimes see its ghost.